Yeah! Welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps. We are back in the saddle. I hope everybody had a great Easter Sunday last week. We took a week off and I had some time off due to I was down in Florida for the drone meetup, which was a lot of fun. Had a great time. Lloyd's taken some time off. He is back with us tonight, and hopefully Mike Roach will join us. He may be busy with family stuff, and since it is getting warmer outside, I think he's probably doing more outdoor stuff or doing stuff with his family. So hopefully he'll pop in a little later. But we've got a lot to talk about. We've noticed that you know that Joe Biden, his cognitive abilities have been declining for several years. He shouldn't have ever been president. Uh, but he's not the only one. Senator Diane Feinstein of California is going to be 90 years old uh, fairly soon, and she's losing it. She's been removed from committee assignments because she can't remember who she's talking to, or she will repeat questions to people on the staff when she's questioning someone at a judicial meeting. So, and then we're going to talk about a Colorado State rep who was arrested on DUI. So we'll talk about that. So let's get this puppy started. Let's welcome all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma, the effervescent Lloyd Mendenhall.
Hey Art, how you doing? Hello everybody
I'm
out
doing
there.
pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
How's
Yeah.
the weather there in Muskogee? I hear it's
Well,
been windy
it's
and rainy.
oh yeah, it's been it just can't make up its mind. This has been a weird spring. It's for the last 3 or 4 days. It's just been windier and snot. I mean, it's just been blowing, 30 to 45 miles an hour for the last 3 or 4 days. And hello, Doc Murdoch,
Hey,
and
Chris.
Chris as
Chris
well.
and
Yeah.
Chris. Good to see you.
Yeah, we got the two C's. Anyways, yeah, it's been windy. Yesterday it was like 81 degrees and windy. Day before it was, about 78, 79 degrees windy. Today it's cloudy, it's dreary, it's 57 degrees and it's rainy. And we're still we had some pretty good thunderstorms roll through last night, and it's just been a weird. I mean, I know what all the wind is caused from. It's all them damn politicians up in Washington blowing all that hot air, and it's
Well,
just,
it's
it's
because
creating.
Kansas sucks.
Yeah, and Texas blows, and we're
Right.
stuck in the middle. Yeah, that's it,
Yep.
man.
Well, same thing here in Colorado. It doesn't know. I mean, yeah, a few days ago we were in the 80s. Now we're down in the mid 50s, and it's
Yeah,
been blowing like heck here. Uh,
yeah,
there's this
yeah.
great big old dead cottonwood tree that I drive by every day, and it's part of the open space area. So there are
Right.
a lot of birds that nest there and hang out
Yeah.
there. Eagles, hawks, owls,
Right.
woodpeckers. Well, the wind knocked it over
Wow.
because
Yeah.
the roots were so rotted, it just fell right over, and it took out the fence that goes right along the sidewalk there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's been it's I don't know. We've had a lot of cooler weather usually. Although hitting the 80s. This is April, so we don't usually uh I mean, it's too late for any snow right now, but we've had snow as in late March, and that's when we usually have our heaviest snow. So we were, yeah, dust storms all week in New Mexico. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's been a lot that way too. We've been having some brush fires too, which is
Same
sticky
here.
because we're not in a drought, but yet it seems to dry out real quick, and the wind starts blowing. We lost power the other day because there's a couple old trees out there hit them power lines, and they fluctuate and pop for a little bit, and night before last we or day before yesterday we lost some power. But I'm just ready for it to settle down. I'm getting tired of this because my poor air conditioner doesn't know whether it's supposed to be an air, because it's a heat pump, so it doesn't know which way to go, forward or backwards.
Right.
Whether it's supposed to heat or cool, and it's just driving me insane. But anyways, it's good to be back though. Good to be back in this chair.
Yeah, it's good to see you. We all missed you, and
Yeah.
last show that I did solo,
Right.
because
Yeah,
you
it
were on
bothered me, but
hiatus, and
well, I need to
Mike,
take some time off.
he had out of town guests, so
Right.
and I managed to still do an hour. It was
Yeah.
pretty darn good.
Yeah. The other problem is with all this weather is the dust getting stirred up. It's allergy season in Oklahoma. We're the
Yep.
allergy capital of the world. So I've got
Yep.
the sinus thing going on that, it's just I'm getting tired of it. But yeah, I'd seen that you'd done a show by yourself. I felt bad, but I need to do some regrouping and get some things straightened out. And the funny thing was at the end of everything, and that's one reason I'm here today is because I kind of watched some things going on in the YouTube world and in the community that we're all part of, the bigger community that we belong to. And I noticed that a lot of the things that were causing me some, I don't know,
Consternation.
Consternation. Exactly, that was it. That was the word. That's the exact word I was thinking of.
Yep.
And it didn't really amount to nothing because everything went full circle. So I'm thinking, I got, rather than come on and get really ticked off about things, I just said, screw it. And I enjoyed the time off. I'll be straight up honest with you. It was nice not worrying about a show and, what I might do this week and not offend this person or not offend those people or not do that. And I didn't do it. That's the whole thing. It all come down to it wasn't me that was causing the problems. I just got tired of it, so. And I'll do that again if it happens, because I'm retired. I can do what I want. I can either do the show or, believe it or not, my subscriber count actually went up. So maybe maybe
boy.
maybe if I threaten to take off some more, I might hit 1,000 eventually,
Oh, there you go.
But I did do. I mean, I was in touch with a lot of people from the South Florida drone meetup. Several of those guys, and
Right.
Because I sent some stickers down there, as you probably know, because you were there, and that I sent down a few grumpy vlogger pins that Rick Albert had made for me, and American, yeah, Chris, I did a lot of that. I actually went in with a different character name that I have that I'd never used. I just had it there for other. It was there for other purposes, and I just a few people they could try and figure out like who the hell was that, and because I'd make a comment, and I have an idea. A couple people, but one thing I do want to do before we move on is I want to publicly give my give my condolences to Mel for
the
loss of his father, because it was he called me up right after it happened, or when he was getting ready to head to Tennessee, and I've had a lot going on. Judy's had doctor's appointments. She's been sick too. She hasn't been doing well. So, and I've been remiss in keeping in touch with him. I need to get hold of him today and see how he's doing. But I didn't say anything. I knew when it happened, but I didn't say anything but then you messaged me and said you knew about it, and I come to find out he popped in on Rodney's show last week, I guess, and said it. I think it happened like last Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
I slept since then.
I sent him a card and a box of almond toffee.
It was Doc. His dad passed away about a week ago. This last Wednesday or Thursday. For any of you guys that probably know it already, there was a house fire at his dad lived on Mel's. His dad and brother lived on Mel's property. His brother took care of his dad, and that was his really sole purpose. And they had gone to the doctor for something, were away from the home, and when they came back, their fifth wheel that they live in, with everything they owned, had burned to the ground. It was just ashes. So Mel started GoFundMe, and then they moved into Mel's house because Mel wasn't there. So they used you donated money for the house fire.
Yep.
And yeah.
Same
Yeah,
here.
and that was it. All of us did. Well, then I guess he went to, and they were at Mel's house, and things were going along. I guess he was starting to get, or waiting to get a trailer in or something, and then Mel called me. He says, "I'm going back to Tennessee, so I got to go help bury my father." I go, "What?" And I was just shocked because his father always watched Mel's shows.
Yep.
That was, and I guess he just went to sleep, and Kent went in there to wake him up. Like I said, Wednesday or Thursday morning, and he was gone. And he died in his sleep peacefully. He'd had a lot of health issues, a lot of heart problems. To be honest with you, I expected to hear about that a long time ago, but he seemed to be doing pretty good. Mel had got him a Phantom 3 Pro, and at a pawn shop on a good deal, and his dad had been getting out and doing that, and of course you guys had seen some of Kent's videos that he'd put up, and it was just he was in his 80s. He was like, I think 80. Somewhere, I'm going to say between 85 and 88. I can't remember now, but Mel kept it on the quiet. They already had he's going to be buried in a family plot there on Mel's property. They already had a headstone ordered. He was going to have a cremation, and they were going to put him there on the property. So, and I suspect that Mel will probably be going back to Tennessee to help take care of his brother. I don't know yet. I haven't talked to him. I know he was back there because some of you may have saw they hooked up one of the drones and did a live stream. They didn't. I guess it was on Kent's. They were trying to figure it out, and he did a short live stream. Not realizing, you're live on the air. I think they took it down, but it was in Mel's living room. So, but yeah, it was kind of sad. It caught me off guard. I mean, I was.
Yeah.
And because, of course, Judy's aunt had passed away, and we buried her, and this was within a week or so, a week and a half of that. So, so my condolences to Mel.
Yep.
And I talked with him for a little while, and he was furiously packing things up, and his brother and he have the same kind of car, so he was going to use the hitch, I think, off of the car. And he may think plans may have changed. I don't know, but that was the last I heard. And it kind of caught me unprepared. And so, it's like, wow, because we talked about his dad, and I figured. Yeah, exactly, Chris. And, hang on a second. For some reason, my dummy decided that he wanted to get into the scene, and I thought, no, he's not. He's sitting over here. He actually leaned in like he wanted to say something. That's creepy when your dummies start moving. It's like one of them friggin' Alfred Hitchcock movies. Don't look at me like that. Anyways, yeah, I know. It's yeah. But anyways, yeah.
Tiny hot.
But
Ooh, that's cool.
oh, okay, yeah.
All right.
But anyways, that's
Let's get away
got
from
everything up
drones.
to date
That's
now.
my
Yeah.
Saturday show. This is political stuff. So,
Oh,
so let's
oh,
dive right into it. So we all know President Biden. He's got cognitive issues, and he's not all there. I mean, last week was Easter, and I guess there was a situation with uh, Biden and the Easter Bunny where he kind of got kind of confused of where he was, and I guess the Secret Service had to go kind of. No, it was Jill, his wife, grabbed him by the arm and kind of steered him away
there
from the
was
Easter Bunny.
there actually one of the Easter bunnies was one of his staff members, and one of because there were actually two Easter bunnies there.
Uh,
One of the Easter bunnies was in charge of making sure he didn't wander off because he kept just wandering around, and of course then, like, you can't forget the press conference where Jill says, "Wave at everybody. You're supposed to wave." Had to tell him to wave. It's like, oh, and it's sad. It's sad. If I've said this for a long time, this is elder abuse. This is the kind of thing that they're taking advantage of a person that's dealing with severe cognitive deterioration, and it's I mean, the last time the last time that I think something like this happened, I can't remember the president. He had a stroke in office, and his wife ran everything.
Oh, that was Edith Wilson.
Yes, yeah. Woodrow Wilson's
Woodrow
wife. Yeah.
Wilson's wife.
Yeah. Edith Wilson.
And this was prior to the 25th Amendment.
25th Amendment. Yeah, because the 25th Amendment didn't come into play until
after FDR, I believe.
Yeah, it was after FDR. I don't.
Yep.
Yeah, because it was in effect for Johnson because.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Kennedy was assassinated.
Was assassinated. Yeah.
Yep.
And but yeah, and it's and I mean, I think we can all tell from the press conference that was, or the the anniversary of the hello there, eat more possum.
Eat more possum. Good to see.
You can tell, you can kind of tell who runs the White House in a way from several different press meetings and stuff, such as when they were celebrating the anniversary of the Obamacare, and you saw Obama there, and everybody, including the vice president. I was going to say something really derogatory, but I'm not today. Ms. Harris, she was over there. She was, cheek to cheek with good old Obama, and poor Joe was left wandering around like, the schoolboy that had. Well,
he's like Jim from Taxi.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think that would have been a smarter replacement, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's
every time he has a press conference and they ask him a question, and it's like a word salad when he speaks. It's like a bunch of, and it's like, what? That's not even what the question was about.
Well, and of course, I deal with Judy's stroke, and it's called aphasia, in which they have a problem with connecting words. All the words are there, they just don't belong there. It's the wrong, and I see, and you got to remember, he's had a brain tumor,
No, he had a brain hemorrhage.
Brain hemorrhage, that's right, a brain hemorrhage, that's right.
That was his son that had a tumor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I knew hemorrhage. I don't know why I said tumor, just popped in my head, but anyways. Mine is just cognitive problems because I'm old, but and he's a lot older than I am. He's gonna be 80 when he finishes. He's gonna be in his 80s
Yep.
when he finishes his
Yep.
next term. If he runs for an extra, well, yeah, he says he's running. I don't think anybody else thinks he's running. He's,
Yep.
and and it's sad. It is a
Yep.
sad state for our country,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why we've got things going on like the Ukraine situation and
Yep. Mm-hmm.
uh, and I
And you
have
got
my
the
own.
Chinese testing missiles, the North Koreans testing missiles. But it's not just Biden. We have Senator Diane Feinstein, who's
Yeah,
she's almost 90 years old,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
she's been taken off of some of the committee assignments because
Hello, Mike.
she doesn't remember who she's talking to, or when she's at one of these assignment meetings and she'll ask the same question over and over. The guy just answered the question. It's like, even her staff is starting to go, oh boy, I not all there.
Yeah, uh, uh, yeah, Mickey. You're right. It is. The lineup is no better. I mean, nobody wants Kamala in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yep.
we as a country, and this is the problem, we're letting the 1%. They always say the squeaky wheel gets oiled first.
Yep.
And we as conservatives or as Republicans and I think conservatives is probably, and you don't have to be a far right wing conservative. You can be conservative across, as a group. Conservatism is inclusive of a lot of people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and because I tend to be militarily, fiscally conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Socially, I'm sort of uh, right
Moderate.
of center. Yeah, I'm
Yep.
moderate. I'm right of center. Religiously, I'm probably a conservative moderate. You know, I'm not an evangelical by any stretch of the word. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Just not left wing that job.
that's just not a left wing nut job. That's it. Yeah,
Hey, I
and
want to
this is
say
the pro.
hello to Mike B
Yep.
and Mickey and Eat More Possum. I mentioned it. We got a good
Yeah.
crowd so far.
Yeah, and
Yep.
Chris and Doc, the Chris and
Yep.
Chris show. Yeah.
Chris and Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've got to start as a country, as a group of average American citizens that
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, yeah, we've got we've got to come together and we've got to start insisting that one we need to put term limits on because part
Mm-hmm.
of the reason these people get reelected is because their constituents don't want to lose their place at the table.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to lose a senior member that
Mm-hmm.
has authority over so much.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah, you're right. Even if you're not a Bible Belt conservative, and of course I live at the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Yep.
we got
Mm-hmm.
we got a church. We got churches on three corners and a bar on the fourth. That's just the way it is in Oklahoma.
Yep.
It seems like
Yep.
and uh, but yeah, uh, we need to start. If 12 years was the end of it, 2 terms for a senator, you know, 6 terms for a congressman, that would be the end of most of this. Why is it a president can only serve 8 years and he's supposed to be the man at the top, and yet we got these other idiots that are being elected for life and they're not Supreme Court justices?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know,
Well,
the people
and
that
plus, there's an amendment in the Constitution that does limit how many terms president can serve.
That's right.
There isn't for senator and
No, exactly.
congressman until we have an amendment that says senators and congressmen can only serve X amount of terms, and that's it.
Yeah, they do not want to bite the hand that feeds him. And you're right. That's but this, that's yeah. Anyways, that would be another subject that we'll probably lead into here in a few minutes, like with Disney.
And if you look at the Senate, especially on the Democrat side, there are a whole bunch of really flippin' old people. I mean, look at you got Bernie Sanders, you got Chuck Grassley, he's in his 80s. Even Mitch McConnell, I mean, he's not Democrat, but there are a lot of really old.
There's a lot of old
people, and
and it's loosely based on the parliamentary system out of England, in which our Senate is the Senate is our version of the House of Lords, and those people, that was an inherited title. That was a hereditary position, and it was the House of Commons, or the MPs that were actually the ones who represented the people, such as our Congress. That's what it's supposed to be. The senators supposed to be.
The Senate was the state house, where Congress was the people's house.
Yeah.
And I think we should repeal the 17th Amendment, which changed it to where senators were popular vote by the state, because they represent the whole state, where congressmen only have a district.
Yeah, and I think our Senate should be. We could have two districts. Each state has two districts. The North or Southern District, the West or the East District. And your district for the Senate is voted on by just the people in that. Or keep it at the congressional districts, and whoever wins the most districts out of the whole state can be the senator,
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah. But
that way
if we revert it back to where the state legislature picks people to Congress,
Yeah, that wouldn't be representative, because you don't want the state legislature. Because like in Colorado, you'd be you'd have nothing but
Democrat,
Democrat left wing pot smokers being sent to the Senate, and we'd probably have nothing but Bible Belt conservatives, being sent to the Senate. You're right, Doc. It is always about power and control.
Yep.
It all comes up to lap at the heels of those that have made lifelong careers out of the legislative body. You're right. And this is our problem. The thing is we got generations of kids that have been indoctrinated for the last 15 to 20 years.
Oh, or more than that.
Well, yeah, but it's gotten really bad in the last 20 years. This newest generation is clueless. And there's one coming up who's probably more clueless. And the wokeism that's in this country right now is I don't know that it's as bad as the fact that we got a few groups of people that seem to be trying to steer our nation in a different direction. And I think there should be an age limit on the president. I mean, I think there's a lot of room for improvement.
Mhm.
Our Constitution is not perfect. It's ours, and it's better than most.
Mhm.
But it's still got room for improvements. And I think, uh, but yeah, we got a group of young people now that's voting the way they are because they weren't taught history. They weren't aware of this stuff. Uh,
Yep. Well,
Hello,
Ronald
Steve
Reagan,
Carpenter.
he was what 80 when he finished his
I
term,
think
and
so.
he was
Yeah, yeah,
still pretty sharp. Even
yeah.
though the
Well,
media tried to portray him as this doofus, and he had more going on than the guy that
yeah,
we've got
and at
right
that,
now.
and he admitted at that point he was already starting to suffer the early stages of uh,
Dementia.
uh, dementia. Yeah, early stages of Alzheimer's.
Yep.
And even with Alzheimer's, he's still sharper than what Joe Biden is right now.
Yep. Hmm.
This is a sad, sad, sad state of affairs that we've gotten ourselves into, and
Well,
this
that's
whole
because bad orange man. I can't have him in power,
yeah,
and he
and
just
that's got to be the stupidest. You know, uh, I haven't really talked to my brother about it since he decided he was gonna. He decided he couldn't stand another 4 years of Donald Trump, and I want to ask him. So how do you feel about it now? How you liking it? But and the reason I don't call him out on it is because he's dealing with a wife that's got advanced dementia, so he's got
boy.
enough on his plate without me giving him crap about his voting record.
Hello,
he's
Steve
my
Carpenter. Good to
he's
see
my
you.
brother, and he's grumpier than me, so I can imagine what he would tell me.
Yeah, and you're not going to change his mind anyway,
No,
so
no,
it's like,
it wouldn't be any point.
yeah, it
We
wouldn't,
agree to
yeah,
disagree
no
on that.
point
Yeah, we've
bringing
never.
it up.
That's something he and I have never argued about is politics. We've never even discussed it in all the years. I've
Right.
always been conservative. He retired from a union. You know,
Hmm.
so he voted the union way, and
Yep.
uh,
Yep. And
so
Trump did a lot of really good stuff. It just that when this pandemic struck, he just he listened to too many wrong people. Should have
yeah, yeah,
never listened to Fauci and
yeah. Well,
that
that's
group
it.
there.
I've been saying. I
Should
just
have
said that.
never shut down the economy like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And he should have never given away this free money. And that's what's caused all this inflation. We got too
Yeah,
much
yeah.
money out there. Yep.
Yeah, well, and that was it. We got kind of uh yeah. The,
They got caught flat-footed and said, "Okay, we shut down the economy. We gotta get something, do
well,
something to
good for
help
you,
these."
Mickey. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Use union all his life. And I'm not anti-union because the some unions and I will uh
Yep.
yeah, and that's it. I don't I say my I'll be honest with you. I said that rather off the cuff. I don't honestly know what my brother's voting record is because it's we have other things to argue about. We're
Right.
brothers. We can fight about all sorts of crap.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about politics. We can talk about, I learned probably when I was about 17, I don't talk with him about politics or religion. So I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean he's a very, very articulate person,
Mm-hmm.
and I can respect his arguments. I don't necessarily agree with him, and we've both kind of just that's a subject we just don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
you know, when we're together, we're talking about fishing, hunting, life in general. We just don't talk about. Uh, so I can't say that he. It's just that the few times that we have skirted that subject, I've noticed it seems to have just a slightly leftward slant.
Mm-hmm.
And and he wasn't brought up that way. I mean, he wasn't. My house was somewhat well. again, we didn't talk politics. My mom and dad, my dad voted Democrat, my mom voted Republican. They just canceled each other's votes out, but they both voted, you know. And but dad voted from the he would my dad would be rolling over and is probably rolling over his grave seeing what the Democrats are now
Yeah.
compared to what they were when I was a kid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh
Now, Biden, he's blaming the oil prices on the Russians. He's blaming the inflation on the Republicans. This all happened well before Russia invaded Ukraine. They're
yeah,
just blaming them instead of blaming the policies that they put into place. It's causing all this. Their favorite thing that they like to bring up is, well, those oil companies are they're not doing anything with those leases. Well, hell, that's because you guys put so much regulations on it. Would you want
Mason?
to do anything with those leases if it was going to cost you more money and you don't know, it might be a dry well and you'll lose a ton of money? So
yeah. Well, they've got, now they've got a lot more geological testing than they did when, say, some of these leases were probably taken out,
Right.
But the thing is, and as you said, Trump did a lot of good things, for this country, but they were all under presidential orders, presidential,
Mm-hmm.
And those can be overturned when the next president comes in.
Yeah, and that's what Biden did. And and another thing that they did is they got the banks to not loan money to
the oil
energy
companies.
Oil
yeah.
companies. Yeah.
Yeah, and
so they added another layer of regulation on top of that.
Yeah.
So and that's another reason why they're not doing anything with the leases, because the banks won't give them enough capital for them to go explore on those leases.
Well, and that's it. It's plus to say that it was, to say that it's the Russian situation, it had nothing to do with that, because within the first month of him being president, our gas had already jumped 10 cents a gallon.
Yep.
I mean, that was, and now we're at, I think I saw it the other day, it was $3.69. It was $3.45. It was coming down. That, 1 or 2 days supply of oil he released from the reserve. Here's the thing. We've got the oil here. We got enough oil here in the United States, in Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, and even New Mexico, to
North Dakota.
Yeah, up in the Dakotas. We have more oil reserves, or more oil available, and our offshore oils, that we have more than Saudi Arabia and Russia. Our oil fields have got a lot. We're just not using it because, you got the environmentalist wackos out there. You've got the
and that's another thing too. As soon as they get those leases, then these environmentalists, they come in and they sue these companies. So that's more money that they gotta shell out to their lawyers
It's so they can protect the three-legged farting mosquitoes,
Yep.
Or some other obscure thing. We watched a lot of Australian TVs, and the other day, they were getting ready to, one of the ranchers there, and it was in South Australia area, and one of the ranchers there was getting ready to cut a road through a certain section that he had the right of way to do that with. And it was going to interfere with one of the other ranchers. It was going to be an inconvenience to him, more or less. So in order to stop it, they dug up a particular type of plant and planted it right on the edge of the roadway where it was going to come through, and they put it there. And then they called the environmentalist in. And of course, they figured out that they got caught. But yeah, this guy this rancher, he had to stop the road grading and all the road work right there until they could get an environmentalist out to come out and say, yes, that's a protected plant. You're going to have to go elsewhere. But then the environmentalist says, it's odd. Those things only bloom at such and such time in certain places of the, blah, 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 blah. And it's just real. I've never, ever, ever seen one in this part of the country, or this particular, it was a certain situation in that.
It's not native to that area.
It wasn't native to that area. Yeah. And he said, okay. So yeah, the animal shagging, flea hugging nut jobs. You're right. Yeah.
Yep.
And like I think I said on your show last night, PETA, people eating tasty animals.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like that. Our illustrious governor here in Colorado put an animal rights activist on the ag committee, head of the ag committee, and then she put out a tweet saying that ranchers are lazy and despicable people. And when that firestorm hit and the governor went to her and said, I may need you to have your resignation on my desk in the morning. And that's what she did. She resigned, and then a few days later she was arrested for animal cruelty.
Oh, yeah.
Because they found her house infested with birds, with bird poop everywhere, and some dead birds in her house.
Yeah, the insanity of the left wing or the left thinkers in our country is it has no bounds.
Yep.
They, and this is a good point to move over to the governor of Florida and discuss his stand on a few things. Dealing with, well, actually, it was in Florida because he's the one who brought up that bill about no sex ed for kids, no sex.
Oh, you mean DeSantis?
Yeah. What I say, Governor of Florida, right?
Yeah.
DeSantis, yeah.
The no grooming clause.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, that's what it is.
And then Disney said, "Well, by God, we're going to defeat this bill." And so now they're taking away Disney's tax status.
Yeah, well, they're independent status. Yeah, and they should. I mean, when you got a company that's supposed to be family friendly, and it's okay if there's a family out there that they're it's a gay family and they have kids and they want to take them to Disneyland. That's fine as long as they're not, you don't see straight people taking their kids, dressed half naked and then snogging each other in front of the kids out in public. It's just, somewhere along the line, let's have some common respect for, and that's, I talked to my son the other day. He said, this is a problem. We have zero, our country right now, or the people that seem to be trying to run it. And there seems to be some backlash finally coming. Finally, the conservatives have grown a set of cojones, but there's zero moral compass, zero moral compass in this left wing, because it's, I just realized I said snogging.
Snogging? What is it? What is the definition of that?
Making out. A good tonsil. Yeah, I'm so used to it. Just it's deep diving for tonsils. And I just realized I'd said it, and it's like because as I said, my the things I watch and the people I talk to from all over the world, so I tend to get a lot of, every so often I'll have a
I
British
thought
as I
that was
drop in there.
another Aussie word that you came up.
It's actually British. It's actually British.
Oh,
It's used more in England than it is in Australia.
well,
But
we use a word for gay, which is a cigarette in England.
yes,
Hmm.
they use a word that would be considered offensive by the people here in the
Hmm.
United States.
I always thought it was, hey, they were happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
All
it
right.
right there. That's Doc. That's what snogging is right there. Spit swapping,
So,
tonsil tickling. That's yeah.
speaking of people not happy, here in Colorado, one of our state representatives was just recently arrested for DUI, and that state representative is, and no, I don't want that. This is Colorado State Rep Matt Gray, arrested for DUI. Representative Matt Gray, a Broomfield Democrat former prosecutor, was arrested Thursday night by Broomfield police for driving under the influence, as first reported Friday by the Colorado Sun. Gray, 42, is in his third term in the Colorado House, has filed for re-election in November. In a statement, the House Speaker Alec Garnett of Denver said he is deeply saddened and disappointed to learn of Gray's arrest. I'm very thankful that no one appears to have been hurt, and I strongly believe that he needs to take time, beginning now, to get the help he needs, Garnett said. House Minority Leader Hugh McKean, a Loveland Republican, said, "We may debate policy and argue fiscal issues, but all lawmakers, despite of our party affiliation, are Coloradans, and we care for our state and for each other as people. And I and the Republican caucus are concerned about the early reports involving Representative Matt Gray's arrest, but we support the Speaker's plan to address the matter. We will continue to pray for Representative Gray and his family." In a tweet posted Friday, it was later deleted, said Gray said he was not intoxicated, but that his symptoms of anxiety and depression are such that too many people are worried when they're around me. I'm going to increase my level of therapy and appreciate all the support, he wrote. Gray was an advocate for Democrats' transportation priorities and until last year was vice chair of the House Transportation and Local Government Committee. He was House sponsor of the paid family leave law in 2019 and the mammoth transportation law in 2021. He also ran afoul of Democrat priorities last year. He was one of two Democrats that voted to vote down a Democrat favored bill to reduce the number of offenses that require accused to post cash bond to get out of jail. Back to you, Lloyd.
Yeah, well, it just goes to prove, they got an excuse. You know, the Democrats are saying he needs to get help and therapy because it's a disease, and
Yeah.
let's and the Republicans are going to pray for him because he needs to have help and guidance, and the fact was he was either high. They don't even say what he was high on. He was either had one too many joints, or yeah, he was either token smoking or sm- token popping or smoking, or drinking.
Was-
And he's an idiot because he was out there driving under the influence. But it's okay. He has high anxiety and depression, and that allows me to get by with all the crap that I do. No responsibility. Like, I screwed up, folks. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. I'll make darn sure that I don't. I'm not going to increase my therapy. I'm not going to, cashing fundraiser checks. She was recently reelected. Oh, yeah. We had a governor that was actually convicted of a felony while he was in office, but he was allowed to finish out his term. The only thing was,
Take care, Chris. Good to see you.
He was a Democrat.
And see you later.
Yeah, I want to jump off this real quick for a minute, but a couple of things. Steve Carpenter's talking about all the Chinese that are down by Lackland Air Force Base and up in Minot. The Chinese that are buying all the property. Yeah, we've had a big influx of Chinese property buys here in Oklahoma too. Of course, we have several. We have a munitions plant here in Oklahoma. We have Tinker Air Force Base. We have a couple other smaller bases that are specialty bases. And we have a lot of Chinese influx, too, doing that here. And then Mickey McH, that his daughter goes to University of Arts in Philly. Talk about a bunch of loonies at the orientation. They had a gay guy demonstrating the proper way to put a condom on your partner.
No.
At
least somebody knows how to properly do it.
I didn't know there was, I didn't know there's an improper way, but I guess, whatever. But that's the thing, the left is this group of people they're taking way too many liberties because we've allowed them to, and it's time for us to say, hey, straight folks don't talk that way. You guys need to shut the hell up. We don't want to hear it from you.
Yep.
It's almost
now that this federal judge has struck down the mask mandate by the CDC. Now it's sounding like Biden wants to fight that, and I'm like, oh, go ahead, really piss off more people. This red wave is going to get even bigger if you guys go ahead. You're just going to piss off more people.
Yeah. You're right, Steve. It is very, very disconcerting that the Chinese are buying property around our military bases.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happens
when the Japanese do something like that back in the 80s.
Yeah.
They bought up a bunch of property and they lost their asses.
Yeah. Well, the problem is we've got a weak military. We've got a very weak military. It's the worst.
You got a real weak leader in command.
Well, that's it. Yeah, but when you got General Miley Cyrus up there, I have no respect for that general. I have zero respect. He's more worried about his white rage and wokeism than he is about making sure his people are taken care of and protected. And any general that does that, it's just like that little mamby-pamby whistleblower that testified against Trump. He wore his uniform because he was important. He was a pencil neck paper pusher, just like we have got a bunch of wimps in the military. Yep. And
yes, we do.
Until we get rid of all these pooty poo generals, and leaders.
Don't hold back, Lloyd.
Oh, I was about to let loose with a lot worse than that, but you guys understand what I'm talking about. These cat-loving generals, if you understand what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Them little kitty fellers. Yeah. We're not going to get respect around the world. And another thing is, it's our weak government. not only non-citizens, we've got some naturalized citizens that are in our government that you never heard of that up until the last. I mean, when I was a kid, everybody was in America. Everybody was born on this soil or born on a military base to an American parent, that was deployed. And that's the way it was. But now we've got people coming in from Somalia and wherever. Yeah, Mason, I respect the rank, but, and I've done that even back when I was in. With all due respect, sir, you're a friggin' idiot. Or with the way you get by with that is, with all due respect to your rank, sir, you're an idiot.
Yep.
Well,
Steve,
I don't like it.
That's a good point. In the Philippines, foreigners cannot own land. Only
Same
spouses that are naturalized Filipinos can own property. So, say I marry a Filipino or Filipina, we get own property, but it'd be in her name.
Yeah, and it's usually passed, and usually the property that they have is family property. It's the same in Mexico.
Yep.
A non natural born or native born citizen of Mexico cannot own property.
Right.
You can lease it.
Yeah, you can. Well, yeah, that's why you can own a foreigner can own a condo in the Philippines.
Right, because they can lease it for 99 years or whatever, do a long-term lease on it. And like if it's a business property and you want to set up business over in the Philippines, you have to lease that property. Then you can resell your lease to somebody else, and in order to get out of that. But yeah, and that's the same way, we do not need to let foreign entities buying our property. This country has gone to hell in a handbasket. It's too friggin' woke. It's a bunch of mamby-pambies running our government, a bunch of mamby-pambies running our military.
Yeah.
I mean, the general staff and above, all of those at the upper echelon, not our soldiers, although some of our soldiers are getting a little namby-pamby too.
Yep.
Most of them...
Even our comedians can get slapped on stage.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different story. I mean, it was, I would have respected Will Smith a lot more if he'd gone up and slapped him for a stupid joke instead of making fun of his wife.
Yeah.
Because there's some comedians that's just a
now, if he would just slapped him, sat down, and just shut his pie hole. No, he didn't do that. He just kept going on and on, and he just made himself look like an ass when he did that.
Yeah, well, and
what he should have done is, after Chris told that joke, he should have, after the show, we're gonna have a discussion.
I mean, that was uncalled for.
Yep.
The hypocrisy, that in some ways I think it was great because it showed the hypocrisy of those awards. Yeah. Because after he does that, then he gets a standing ovation for his Best Actor award. I mean, really? Of course, have they officially taken his award away? I know they've kicked him out of the Academy.
Yeah, he's still, he's as
banned.
Far as I know, he still has his Oscar, but he just can't come back for what, 3 years?
10 years. No, I think it was 10 years.
10 years. Oh,
yeah. I think it was pretty harsh. He can't go to any of the award shows connected to the Academy of Motion Pictures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so he can't go to Grammys or Tonys.
No, anything that. Well, Steve, I don't know if I know you were in the Air Force too, so you know what Minot is. It's the armpit of America. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, the Chinese can have Minot. It's just Minot was where you went to. It was actually worse than being sent to sent to Alaska, because when you got sent to Minot,
Mhm.
you really screwed up, because that's the most godforsaken place in the world, at least in the United States. Yeah, they banned him for 10 years, but he can
He
still
could
win
still
an
win an
award.
award. Yeah.
He just
Yep.
had, he's not allowed to give a speech even remotely, from what I understand. So
Now, wasn't Minot used in a Motley Crue song?
probably,
Minot,
yeah.
Kickstart My Heart. Okay.
But yeah, it's yeah, these Chinese, these Chinese infiltrating like that. I mean, we've got them. We've got them in our. They're working in our all levels of our government right now. We
Yeah,
got
they're
foreign
on
entities.
congressional staff. I mean,
Yeah,
we had, who was that? Was it Pelosi's driver was a Chinese spy?
yeah. We've got the Chinese. We've
Oh, and Swalwell, his mistress, Chinese spy.
yeah, Mickey. I think they do. Yeah, that's the problem with being up there at Minot is combat arms training facility. Okay, all right, yeah,
And is it Minot near? Is it like near Fargo? It's like right on the border of.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like right. Yeah,
yeah.
near.
It's definitely strategic land up there in replace, and because we did have some ICBMs up there, we had the missile crews at missile munitions maintenance crews that would, that's why I knew about it, because we had guys that were in my particular career field, or one of the career fields I was in, that got sent there a lot.
Mhm.
And we just always assumed they did something bad, but no, it was.
Well, here in Colorado, we had some missile bases. That was in the early '60s. We had that was at Lowry. That was the
Yeah,
Lowry
yeah.
missile range. And
Well,
I think we
Lowry Air
had
Force
Atlas
Base.
and
Well,
Atlas
Lowry Air
rockets.
Force Base was actually the uh was it was a, they're called 462s. I'm a 462. The munitions maintenance people. That's where all your gun maintenance. That's where we were trained, because I was stationed there. That's where I did my training to load bombs, work on uh, weapons release systems such as bomb racks and all of that. That's where we trained on gun systems and how to maintain them, how to fix them, how to, it was all, and it's where we learned to load nukes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike says he wishes he had a Chinese hooker. Yeah,
Well,
but
guys, we've done just over an hour, and Lloyd, you did a great job. Thanks for coming back. We missed you.
well, thanks for having me.
Everybody in the chat, thanks for coming. Good show. We had a good crowd today.
We did.
And so have a great Sunday. God bless you, and catch you all next week. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Later.